I buried the call that could have saved her. I used to tell people I volunteered at a crisis hotline because I believed in second chances. The truth is, I liked being the voice in the dark that people trusted, the one who could tilt a night towards survival or collapse with a single sentence. There's a kind of power in anonymity, no face to judge, no history to disqualify you. Just a voice. I thought I was using it to help. I know how that sounds now. We operated out of a second-floor walk-up that always smelled like burnt coffee and high school theater, dust, cheap paint, someone's leftover perfume. The building looked over a 4-lane road where rain collected in the grooves of old tire tracks, and the commuter buses hissed like patient animals. I worked the late shift, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. The worst things people do often choose those hours. So did I. When I started, I was broke. Not poetic broke. Not Ramen and Spotify ads broke. Eviction notice folded in the glove compartment, lawn sharks texting when the sun was still bright, broke. I'd lost my sales job, too many missed quotas, and I'd pretended to my girlfriend, Ava, that I'd landed another one quickly. I hadn't. At the hotline, I found stability. A routine. And then, because I am capable of designing my own ruin, I found opportunity. We took all kinds of calls: suicidal ideation, abuse, panicked parents, runaways. Sometimes, families offered a reward for information on a missing person, and other times, they were just desperate for someone to chase leads the police didn't have time to consider. That's where I built the bridge between good deed and income stream. I knew the patterns, when a lead was promising, when a caller was more rumor than reality. A private investigator named Len left business cards like a molting bird leaves feathers. Officially, we weren't supposed to pass those along. Unofficially, the world is made of exceptions. I started feeding credible leads to Len. He paid me for the ones that panned out. It was small at first, like skimming, to borrow a word I told myself was temporary. Enough to keep the landlord patient. Enough to buy time. Then came the call. Static, like wind over a bottle, then a woman's voice, shaky, embarrassed to exist. "I think I saw the girl on the poster," she said. "The one with the raincoat. The blue one." We keep posters pinned to the corkboard behind the phones. I turned and scanned the faces. Blue raincoat, Maya Delaney, 24, last seen leaving the Riverside Tap on a Wednesday after midnight. She was Ava's little sister. I had gone with Ava to staple those posters around town. We'd cross side streets in the drizzle, my hand at her back, both of us speaking like people in a chapel. The photograph caught Maya mid-laugh, a smug, brilliant tilt that told you she was always about to get away with something. I liked her. Not the way it sounds. She was electric. I was jealous of people who didn't think twice about being alive. On the phone, the woman swallowed. She was with a man. Tall. Beard. Red cap. It was in the old rail yard near Dunham. I didn't know who to call. The old rail yard was a corridor of rusted scaffolds and weeds tall enough to whisper. I looked at the clock, 1:23 a.m. I should have told her to stay put, call 911, keep eyes on. I should have patched the call through and followed our protocol word for word. "Can you describe the cap?" I asked. She hesitated. Red. With a white patch. Like a rectangle. "I don't know teams." Len wore a red cap sometimes. Not with a patch. I'd seen him flick its brim while counting cash, amused at his own competence. Suddenly my heart was all fists. "Did you get a plate?" I asked. "A van," she said. "No plate on the front. Our state didn't require one." They went toward the fence where the tracks disappear. I told her she'd done the right thing, wrote down a number I already knew by heart, and said I'd pass it along to our investigator. We don't have investigators. We have cops if we do things correctly, and grief if we don't. I hung up. The room felt colder. The fluorescent lights hummed with the self-satisfied cruelty of insects. I called Len. He was awake. Men like him are never fully asleep. "That's hot," he told me, after I gave him the details. "You sure it's the girl?" I looked again at the poster. "I'm sure." He was out the door before I ended the call. I should have immediately phoned it in 911, our coordinator, anyone, but I waited. My reason was simple and unforgivable. If Len brought Maya back, or even found where she'd been, he'd cut me in on money I couldn't refuse. I needed to be necessary. I needed this to pay. Ava texted me at 1:41 a.m., any news? Can't sleep. I didn't respond. I told myself I'd call the police if Len didn't answer within 15 minutes. That's the kind of lie you hand yourself like a life vest with a leak. At minute 14, he texted, "Rail yard's empty. Call's probably noise. I'll swing by Riverside, see who remembers her." I stared at that message for a long time, as if the letters could be negotiated with. At 2:06, the hotline rang again. The same woman. "They're back," she whispered. "Same place. Do I call the police? I don't want to be wrong." "Yes," I said, and my voice finally sounded like it belonged to someone who cared about consequences. "Call them now. Stay on with me." I flagged our coordinator, who dialed 911 while I kept the caller talking. I told her to move where she could see without being seen. She described shadows gathering near the chain-link fence, a glint of metal like a dropped coin. She went quiet. "They're loading something," she said finally. "It looks like, oh God." I could hear sirens before she could. And then everything sped up, the way life does when it realizes you've been borrowing time. Officers later found footprints, tire tracks, a piece of fabric hooked on rough wire, and in the morning light, a dark stain spreading in the dirt like spilled ink. They also found the woman who called, who swore she'd seen a girl in a blue raincoat fall or be pulled into a van. They did not find Maya. For 3 days, the city became a mouth that wouldn't close. Volunteers combed the rail yard in nearby woods. The Riverside tap became a tribunal. Bartenders replayed the night in 100 variations. Ava stopped sleeping. She sat at our kitchen table with a notebook and a dozen pens, making lists like magic spells, where Maya might go if she were scared, who she might call, what she might leave behind if she ran. She asked me, "Do you think she's alive?" And I answered with silence I tried to dress as hope. Len and I met in a parking garage. He kept his hands deep in his jacket like he was warming them over invisible flames. "Bad luck," he said. "Cops everywhere. Your tip was late." "Late?" I repeated. He shrugged. If I'd had a head start, he didn't finish. He didn't need to. It rained on the 4th day, a sulking, endless rain that made the whole town smell metallic. The police found a phone near the river with a cracked blue case. The case matched the one in Maya's Instagram photos. The river was fat with stormwater and secrets, and divers worked until their lips went the color of bruises. They pulled up scraps that could have been anything. That night, our hotline team held a debrief. Our coordinator praised the anonymous caller who had stayed on the line. She praised me for my composure under pressure. "We can't control outcomes," she said. "We can control our response." I nodded like a student in church. I went home and took the red cap from the top shelf of my closet, the one Len had tossed to me the week the partnership began, a joke about joining the team. I set it on the table beside Ava's notebook. She looked at it, then at me. "Did you tell me everything?" she asked. The word "no" sat in my mouth like a shard of glass. I told the coordinator. "I did what I could." "I don't mean at work," she said. "I's never leaving mine. I mean about you. There is a point where a lie stops protecting you and starts making you small. I had been shrinking for months, into secrets, into scarcity, into the smallness of a man who believes the only way to matter is to be paid for it. I need to tell you something," I said. I told her I'd taken money for leads. I told her I'd called Len first because I panicked, because I wanted to be certain, because I wanted to cash in. I told her I delayed calling the police by minutes that might now exist like a dam in the shape of a human life. I told her I didn't know if it would have changed anything. I told her that not knowing was going to be the knife I lived with. Ava didn't move for a long time. Then she stood, took the red cap, and dropped it in the trash. "Leave," she said, voiced the temperature of rain. I slept in my car under the orange halo of a streetlight. The wipers ticked every 10 minutes when the drizzle grew bold, a metronome for a night that had no song. In the morning, I drove to the river and watched the volunteers gather in their neon vests. I asked for a vest. They gave me one. I walked the banks, I called her name, I followed lines of footprints that faded where the soil turned to stone. I did the things people do to feel less useless. It felt like rehearsing an apology to the earth. Weeks passed. The story bled out of the news cycle, leaving a dull ache that lived on refrigerators and lamp posts. I kept working the hotline because that's who I was, the guy who stayed when it was worst. I cut Len off. He didn't argue, he just stopped calling. The eviction notice was replaced with a court date. I missed it. A month later, a fisherman found something snagged near the pylons below the East Bridge. The police shut down 2 lanes and lifted it with the kind of gentleness usually reserved for newborns and bombs. It was a torn backpack with a keychain shaped like a lightning bolt. In a photo on Ava's fridge, Maya wore the same silhouette dangling from her belt loop. The current had a way of creating altars where the water snarled. You can chart a town's moral weather by watching how long people keep showing up after the cameras leave. Some stayed. Some didn't. The posters curled and brightened, then washed out entirely. The hotline phone kept ringing, and I kept answering, and I got very good at saying, "Your life is not a problem to solve alone." Except mine was. On the 92nd night after the call, the woman who had first phoned US came in to meet the coordinator, to close the loop. She brought a tray of cookies, which felt cruel and generous in equal measure, and a thank you card with a check for the center. I passed her in the doorway. She smiled like someone recognizing a neighbor on a bus. "You were on the line with me," she said. I nodded. "You did everything right." Her eyes shone. "I still hear the sirens." I hope she didn't finish. None of us ever did. I walked her to the elevator. The hallway buzzed, a thunderstorm flexed its fingers outside. "Do you have a ride?" I asked. "My husband's downstairs," she said. "He keeps the engine running. Says he likes to be ready." "Ready," I repeated, as if the word could change shape and become a bridge. When the elevator doors closed, I turned back to the corkboard. The blue of Maya's raincoat had faded to the color of smoke. It's easy, after the fact, to turn life into a neat diagram, decision, consequence, lesson. But what I did wasn't a single decision. It was a series of small permissions I granted myself, a finder's fee the first time, a delayed phone call the second, a belief that good intentions could offset how the world counts harm. I wanted to matter and to be paid for mattering. I wanted to be a hero without taking the risk heroes actually take, telling the truth when it costs you. This is the truth. I buried a call that might have saved the sister of the woman I was supposed to build a life with. I have no proof it would have. I have no right to expect forgiveness. I am not writing to ask for it. I quit the hotline. I wrote a statement and handed it to a detective who had stopped being patient with me months ago. He read it, then read it again, and his jaw set like a door no longer in use. He thanked me without warmth. I mailed my key to Ava with a note that said, "You were right to ask about me." I sold the car to pay what I owed and moved into a room above a laundromat where the windows fog every morning like the building is practicing how to disappear. I wake before dawn, walk to the river, and pick trash from the reeds. It's not repentance, it's gravity. It's something you do with your hands when your heart has too much to carry. Some nights, when the rain taps the glass like a persistent caller, I pick up my phone and dial the hotline, just to hear the recorded voice remind me what number to press for help. I don't press it. I listen to the silence that comes after, the kind that gives you back your own breath and waits. I used to think second chances were something other people had the authority to grant. I know better now. Sometimes a second chance isn't a clean slate. Sometimes it's a sentence you carry correctly. I might never put it down, but I can keep from handing it to anyone else. And if you're wondering why I'm telling you this, why I'd risk the little anonymity I have left, it's because secrets are a form of theft. They steal the air from rooms where people are trying to breathe. If I want to live at all like the voice I pretended to be on those nights, I have to say it plainly. I wanted money more than I wanted to do the right thing, until the right thing had a name I couldn't speak without shaking. Her name was Maya. She wore a blue raincoat. I answered a phone I should have handed to someone better.